What's going on, everybody? Welcome. We are live right here on YouTube. My name is Ango. This is a impromptu stream. Happy New Year. We're going into 2024. Of course, I'm on the Eastern time zone, so we got a little bit of time. And I just figured, you know what? Last night was AEW's World's End. I didn't get to do a live stream last night, but I want to talk about it because I do have some questions. I do have some concerns. I have some positives. I have some negatives. I figured we can all come around, hang out, chat. So, of course, thank you guys all for spending this Sunday afternoon with me. I don't think I've ever streamed on a Sunday afternoon unless it was like WrestleMania weekend or something. So, a little bit different. I'm sporting the Lions jersey because the Dallas Cowboys got lucky last night. So, just kind of want to throw that out there. That has nothing to do with wrestling, by the way. But what up, chat? So yeah, AEW World's End was last night. There was a lot that could be said about AEW World's End, but it seems like yet again there's another AEW pay-per-view in which, unfortunately, the unfortunate aspect is that with AEW World's End, it was overshadowed by some more drama. Now, I want to get this out of the way relatively fast because I don't want to spend too much time talking about this. But there is a lot of conversation, obviously, on social media about Chris Jericho. Now, I am not knowledgeable in what is actually being discussed here. With all of this stuff happening with Chris Jericho, I can't sit here and give you guys a well-informed opinion. There's some allegations that have been made, just like the Vince McMahon story. I'll wait to see what transpires and obviously give you guys my genuine thoughts on it. I will say with the Chris Jericho stuff, this is definitely taken social media by storm. And unfortunately, it's another AEW pay-per-view where people are talking about the drama and stuff like that. And really, my heart goes out to this talent because I feel bad that every time something seems to be going well, there's something that gets brought up that seems to take away the attention for them. But obviously, Chris Jericho was met with a very, very loud NDA chant last night. Tony Khan on the media scrum says he doesn't comment on internet rumors and stuff like that. Obviously, not much has been put out in detail. So once there's more details in regards to that, you guys should stay tuned for a news video. I'll be happy to, keep you guys informed. Right now, it just seems like there's allegations, and even the allegations that have been made, it's you have a journalist who had a Twitter beef, and then he drops this news in a weird way. It's not as like direct, so we'll see what happens. Obviously, I'll keep you guys informed along the way. But now that's out of the way, AEW had a decent show. When I say decent, that's me being nice. Unfortunately for AEW, take the drama out of the equation because I'm not judging the show based on that. I look at this AEW World's End pay-per-view as a chance to end the year in the right way for this company, especially considering how much I've enjoyed the Continental Classic. And I'll be honest with you guys, I feel like we are in a situation right now with AEW. The Continental Classic was great. AEW needs to get back to doing sports-based presentation. Their product needs to be we need to see AEW go back to what made them good. Because last night when I was watching World's End, I feel like I'm getting a mix of both. Which, by the way, the pay-per-view kicked off with a fantastic 8-man tag match for the Continental Classic. Honestly, like me personally, like I thought that was dope. I thought the tag match was great, and I was very excited to see what was happening with Daniel Garcia and Bryan Danielson. Like, there's something there. So I'm glad, like, the Continental Classic, Daniel Garcia lost. He only got one win. He picks up the win here in this 8-man tag. And then the cool thing about it is they're doing this, like, little story with him and Danielson. I'm intrigued by that. I'll tell you guys right now, off the rip, for a Continental Classic, which is based on a tournament, like there's something cool that's coming out of it. Personally speaking, I thought this was a great way to open the pay-per-view. What's actually really funny is that I thought Andrade and Miro was a great way to follow that. And I put out a tweet, and I don't know if you guys all follow me on X. If you don't, you can. It's on here somewhere right there. You can follow me on X. I'm no holds barred on this app, bro. I'm very, very direct with my opinions. I'm very, 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 very direct with it. Andrade is leaving AEW. Okay? If you guys missed the news, Andrade's leaving AEW. And with Andrade leaving AEW, Tony Khan could have done what Vince McMahon would do, right? They could have just buried him. But instead, he actually had a very nice competitive back and forth match with Miro. Now, of course, CJ Perry turns on Andrade. Miro is shocked by it. That's cool. There's a little story about it, but it's inevitable, right? Miro, CJ Perry should be together. I thought it was great. I thought it was great. And I love the fact that they didn't bury Andrade on the way out. That's respectable. I respect the freaking hell out of AEW for not doing that because, yeah, probably next week he's going to be in WWE, right? So I thought that was cool. I feel like this is where the pay-per-view kind of stopped being cool for me after this match. I don't think there was anything that left me to desire the rest of the show. However, unfortunately, because I did enjoy the Continental Classic, I knew I had to watch Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley. Now, if you watch my prediction show, I thought Tony Khan, I was wrong. Tony Khan did not give it to Jon Moxley. I was like, wow, pretty sick. Eddie Kingston, which, by the way, I'm a huge fan of the look of their title belts in AEW. I'm a huge fan of the way the Continental Championship belt looks. For some odd reason, it kind of reminds me of the undisputed WWE Championship belt from like back in the day. And I thought that was dope, personally speaking. I thought it was a great match. But I really felt like everything was a drag. I felt like this show has terrible pacing. I feel like Tony Khan, who has increased the amount of pay-per-views this year, should know better than to have so many matches. Especially if you're watching 0 Hour, which I'm going to talk about that. But I felt like AEW was a very weird show. Like there's some signs of good, and there was some things I did not personally enjoy. And we'll talk about the Devil. We'll talk about, Ring of Honor and where they stand with AEW, because I think there's something that needs to be talked about there, because I feel like a lot of people aren't actually like, maybe they don't care or whatever, but I see it very differently. I feel like right now when I was watching AEW World's End, I felt like for some reason it was almost like too many different visions coming together to put this show out there. A little bit of sports-based stuff, some sports entertainment stuff, very long pay-per-view, sometimes too much shenanigans, outside interferences. I'm watching a company that is directionless. That's what it feels like to me. It feels like directionless. And maybe my time periods are off, but I want to say WWE under Vince McMahon. Let's go back to the COVID era of WWE and Vince McMahon. When I see, for example, Kevin Owens and Ezekiel, that was like right after COVID, or COVID was still going on or whatever. I remember watching Ezekiel and Kevin Owens, and that was a time where it was kind of rough watching WWE. And I remember specifically during a review show, I was like, man, like, I don't know why, but I enjoy this. I enjoy this storyline. I think it's cool, right? Like, I think it's kind of dope. And I remember at that time, I was like, it just sucks that I have to watch a 3-hour Raw to get to that point. Like the things that I do enjoy. WWE was very directionless, but they had a few things there that I enjoyed, right? So like the Kevin Owens and Ezekiel thing, maybe it wasn't for everybody, but for some fucking reason, it popped me. That's where I am at with AEW right now. Where I am currently at with AEW is this idea that there are some things that are freaking awesome, but I have to watch a lot of other bullshit to get to the things that I care about. Whereas I feel like WWE currently, as it stands, I would say 90% of the shows that I'm watching are things that I'm intrigued with. You might have a couple matches or promo segments or whatever where I'm like, I don't really care about it. But for the most part, I would say I'm not as interested in it. And then actually, what's really interesting is that WWE pay per views in 2023 have less matches on the card. They're very well paced. And usually it's the matches or the storylines that I care about. And the reason why Triple H has done such a great job with that is because in WWE, you'll have 5, 6 matches on a pay per view, and the IWC, of course, will get upset about this. But this idea that, Gunther might not be on a pay per view, but he might be defending the Intercontinental Championship on Raw. Now that episode of Raw for me is must see. And I don't understand why Tony Khan can't do that. You don't need to have these big, long pay per views with a whole bunch of matches when you could put some of these matches on TV and probably present them as a way bigger deal for a main event of Dynamite or Collision. So sometimes I feel like there's a little too much that is happening, and sometimes it just feels a little directionless. And again, I compare this to WWE prior to the Triple H era. As I've said, I remember specifically watching Raw 3 hours, and I would be talking about it on my review show. Yeah, I enjoyed a few of the things here, but 3 hours is way too long. It's terrible pacing, whatever. So to me, I don't know how else to explain it. It just seems like there's something off. When I talk about a long pay-per-view, by the way, let me make that clear. When I talk about a long pay-per-view, I like Swerve Strickland and Dustin Rhodes. And I don't blame them for this. I did not personally like this. I personally didn't like the way they went about this. I really just didn't, honestly. And I think maybe that's the thing that kind of sucks is like I like both guys a lot. Um, but it's a long pay-per-view already as it is, right? And then you're in this circumstance where you have to understand Keith Lee was pulled from the match. First of all, Keith Lee, I hope you get healthy, man. Whatever the injury is or whatever it may be, whatever's keeping you off TV, whatever the reason is, I want you to be 100%. People don't know, maybe you do, maybe you guys remember when I talk about Keith Lee joining AEW and Swerve joining AEW. I was very pissed off, by the way, that they were a tag team because I looked at both of those guys immediately going into AEW and just becoming singles guys, single stars, right? It sucks. Swerve and Keith Lee, another reason they can't have this match. Like at some point, it's terrible. It sucks, right? It's terrible circumstances. So I don't know whatever the issue is with Keith Lee, and I don't speculate on people's health issues or injury issues or whatever it may be. That's not my thing. They haven't disclosed what his injury is. He was pulled off from it. But then you had Swerve versus Dustin Rhodes. And maybe that's where I would have said, personally speaking, just the pay-per-view is already long as it is. You already have so much other stuff on there. You don't need to have Dustin Rhodes on this match. Now, just so you guys know, it's not out of the blue. Dustin Rhodes was tag teaming with Keith Lee. So it does make sense for Dustin Rhodes to be announced and everything like that. It's not illogical by any means. Don't get that twisted. It's just, it's not like it needs to be there. Now, again, people may care. Some people may not care. That's up to you guys. If you love pay-per-views with a lot of matches, personally speaking, like that's great for you. I'm just not one of those guys. The only time I can make excuse for it is WrestleMania. Maybe like the big 4 pay-per-views. And even that, not all of them go that long. Because now WWE, even WrestleMania is 2 nights or whatever. But like, I can understand WrestleMania being long. If AEW All In every year is at Wembley and it's like their stadium show and it goes a little bit longer, like it's not ideal, but I understand, right? But not every pay-per-view needs to be a long pay-per-view. And I kind of felt like that was one of the things that I personally didn't enjoy that at all. And that's unfortunate. Lot more to be said, guys. By the way, if you're watching live, you want to support the channel, feel free to drop a super chat, or you could donate on my website, or you could drop a super thanks or anything like that. When you do that, You're actually able to get your comments and questions read on the stream. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can. But obviously, it's tough watching a long pay-per-view and then realizing like a lot of it just seems like filler. It just seems like filler. And I feel like what's really interesting to me, I know some people, by the way, I know some people will talk about the the women's matches. I didn't feel like there was anything wrong with them. I didn't have a problem with the women's matches. Um, the Tony Storm stuff, I didn't have an issue with winning, whatever. I don't have an issue with Sky Blue and Julia Hart and Abaddon and stuff like that. I don't have any issues. I don't have any issues on that whatsoever. But it's interesting because we did get a super chat from Richard Martinez for $1.99. He says, "Do you trust the Sasha reports?" I never trust any report that comes out. I don't know how many times I gotta I don't know how many times I gotta reiterate that. We talk about news and rumors on this channel, but unless WWE and AEW announce it 100% themselves or whatever, it's never 100% confirmed. So when it comes to the Sasha reports, I don't trust them. I don't trust the Sasha reports. I didn't trust the CM Punk reports. I didn't trust the Cody Rhodes reports. I don't trust any of them. They're all slightly different too, by the way. But the thing about these reports, man, is one day it could be no, the next day it could be yes. Obviously, Sasha Banks is not in AEW. Mercedes Money is not in AEW. I have no problem with Mercedes. I have no problem with Mercedes going to AEW. I feel like AEW, kind of like WWE, they're putting more focus on the women. That's cool. The problem is I just don't think there's any massive storylines happening for the women right now in AEW. I feel like there's a couple that Sasha could get involved with. So me personally, I don't really know what to feel about these reports. The issue is AEW doesn't need star power. So for anybody who believes AEW needs to sign more people, that's not the solution to their problem. And it will never be a solution to their problem. There are fundamental issues in AEW booking where I just feel like signing new people doesn't solve everything. It's great. It's wonderful that AEW has the money and people are getting the bag. And I'll never, ever, ever condemn that. I'll never say it's a bad thing. But I don't think AEW's TV or AEW's pay-per-views or AEW's company falls on the hands of one individual person who gets signed to the company. So if Mercedes goes to AEW, great. She's getting the money. There's nothing wrong with that. If she goes to WWE, great. She's getting the money. There's nothing wrong with that. And yes, even if she goes to TNA, she can get paid, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is, I think when I look at AEW, and we're seeing this, right? I had so many people telling me when AEW signed Andrade, oh my God, they're going to make him a big deal. This is going to be great. They're going to show Vince McMahon and WWE why they dropped the ball with him. And here we are, like 2-3 years later, and Andrade's leaving AEW. The same thing was said about Malachi and Miro, and the same thing is said about every single person that signs with this company. I have zero problem with people signing to AEW. I have zero problem with AEW wanting to sign people. But what I really want to see is AEW find its vision of what they want their product to look like, not just signing people for the sake of signing them. If you want to be a sports-based product, get the best wrestlers, which, by the way, I don't think you could even argue at this point. AEW's roster is incredible. I think if you factor that in, they already have a fantastic roster. So if you factor in how great their roster is, you don't need somebody else to come in and change that. But if you're going to sign somebody who is most notoriously known for their sports entertainment gimmicks and stuff like that, that's not aligned with your vision. It doesn't work. So ultimately speaking, I have no problem with Sasha going to AEW, but it's not going to fix anything. It'll never fix anything, and it never has fixed anything in the past. That's why AEW right now is always teeter-tottering between hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. That's how I look at it. Thank you, Richard, for the super chat. We got another one from Games and Reps. Why make an injured man the devil? I find this to be a fascinating super chat. AEW didn't. It doesn't look like they've changed their mind on It doesn't look like they've changed their mind on what they were doing. I feel like they knew since day one it was Adam Cole. I think they were making that the plan the entire time. And I think for AEW, when you see that they committed to the story, that's fine. They didn't call an audible. I don't really have a problem with Adam Cole being the devil. We will definitely and surely be talking about that shortly. I have more of a problem of the way they did the reveal, but definitely not a problem. Thank you, Games and Reps, for the super chat. Got another one from Richard Martinez. Why help Joe if the title is what you wanted? That's my issue. We'll have to talk about this a little bit more in depth because I've already talked about this on my prediction stream. I've talked about this on X. Guys, if you're not following me on X, please do. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss that because I 100% believe that's the issue with logic. Logically speaking, why would you help Joe win the title if that's what you wanted? It makes no sense. It makes no sense to me. But I still don't have a problem. Even with its failed logic, I still don't have a problem with it because Adam Cole is a hell of a talent. But I have a problem with the way they revealed it. Richard Martinez dropping another super chat. Has Tony Storm's character hurt her wrestling? No, Tony Storm's character is literally incredible. Talk about how WWE dropped the ball on Tony Storm. Look at what she did on SmackDown on the main roster with WWE. Very short-lived. Vince McMahon didn't give a shit about Tony Storm. They've knocked it out with her 100%. They've done a really good job. But again, what's AEW's vision? Are they sports or are they entertainment? Power rankings and wins and losses matter, or characters and storylines matter? What is it? Because Tony Storm is all about her character right now. Tony Storm could be both. But what's the company's vision? That's what matters. The company's vision hurts the people's characters, and it hurts the way people are presented on screen. It's as simple as that. Barker Lewis Can't Chew, $4.99. When AEW did more in-ring action back in 2021, they only had 2 hours of TV. Now with 5 hours of centric TV, it would be way too much. So Barker, this is very true. This is actually very true. 100% true. It would be a little too much of just wrestling matches between 3 shows. Again, there's some fundamental issues with the company. So one show should be heavy sports entertainment. The other show should be heavy wrestling. I don't know how to explain it. It's not difficult. Just know your vision of what you want for your company. Because if you really want to be sports-based entertainment with 5 hours of TV across 3 shows, you can absolutely do it, but you have to change the structure of how it works. There's definitely a solution to it. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but there's definitely ways to do it, 100%. Do you feel Tony's matches have gotten worse? Richard, I do not feel like her matches have gotten worse. I just feel like she's more honing into her character than she would as an in-ring person, but she's fantastic at both. She's absolutely fantastic at both. 100%. And because she's fantastic at both, I would go as far as saying that Tony Storm's matches, I'm not one of these dudes that are judging off matches all the time. I don't care. If you get a fantastic 5-star match out of it, that's awesome, but it's not that big of a deal. I promise you. I don't know. Cameron Johnson became a member for 12 months. Tony Khan needs help. Tony Khan has help. Tony Khan needs the right kind of help. He needs the right kind of vision. He needs to understand what he wants his product to be, because I think he could do good for both sides. I think sometimes he does sports entertainment well. I think sometimes he does the wrestling aspect well. What I don't think is Tony Khan is consistent, and that seems to anger a lot of people in the IWC, but I'll never change my mind. I'm just, by the way, for those who are new to this channel, if you're new here, I just want you to understand one thing. Just one thing. Because I know you won't go back and watch my old videos. I know how this works. I've been on the IWC. I've been doing this shit for 10 years. People will throw statements or whatever. But I'll say this. AEW 2019 to 2021 had a very different company than they do today. And obviously, the honeymoon phase is over. That's very clear. That's very apparent. However, the issue is not about a honeymoon phase. It's the vision has changed. The identity has changed. They have identity problems. So because they have identity problems, they clearly have identity problems. And because they have identity problems, I predicted years ago. I said, if you lose your vision, if you lose your identity, if you become the company, and I used to say this, if you become the company that caters to the hardcore fans, that all they care about is one thing, and all you do is knock on WWE, you're setting yourself up for failure. Tony Khan talked a lot of stuff about Vince McMahon's allegations, and now here we are with Chris Jericho allegations. And again, they're just allegations, and that's all it is at this very moment. But you cannot be talking about your competition and doing this stuff because you rally up your troops. You're rallying up the AEW hardcore fan base, and then your company looks like a hypocrite. And there's been a lot of scenarios where it's happened to AEW, and I predicted this years ago. And I would love AEW. I'd be like, man, this product is really good. I really hope they shut the fuck up sometimes on Twitter, but they got some really good shit. But it's easy for them to be in these scenarios, and it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. Gray Knight Gamer, $4.99. Thank you for the super chat. Let's see. Do you think the Jericho report came out right then because he was going to be at the pay-per-view? I swear their pay-per-views are cursed at this point. I don't know. The thing that I'm seeing right now, unfortunately, and this is the unfortunate aspect of it all, is that Nick Hausman basically said on his wrestling talk show something about comparing Chris Jericho to Harvey Weinstein. And then what happens after that is Kylie Ray responds with a heart or something like that. And that's like, there's nothing directly being reported that I have seen. At this time, I haven't seen it. Maybe there is, I haven't seen it. So if somebody, if there's anybody with credibility, whatever. The problem is Nick Hausman literally just had like a Twitter spat with Chris Jericho. And then he's also been vocal about AEW not being able to ask questions on the media scrum or something like that. So you tell me, I don't know. To me, this is one, we got to see the credibility here, but also it's the same way, like I've said before with the Vince McMahon stuff. There's Vince McMahon allegations. Vince McMahon, at first there wasn't many details, then it came out about the money and stuff like that. Once we have the facts, once we see what happens, we'll go there. I think this, unfortunately for AEW, it's another pay-per-view where there's more drama being cooked up. Doesn't matter why or how or anything like that. There's more drama being cooked up. And it's unfortunate because I look at guys like Ricky Starks, and I look at guys like Darby Allin, and I look at guys like Sting, who, by the way, it's his last match in New York ever. And I see all of these different individuals, and I see, unfortunately, how everything that's good, even though I wasn't in love with this pay-per-view and I was being generous by calling it decent, I see Julia Hart having a match on pay-per-view. I see all of these different things. I want these talent to actually be able to work without having to deal with this type of bullshit. It happened with the Elite, the CM Punk stuff, all of these different things. It's like there's always drama in this company. And it's so funny to me because this was the reason why I think I enjoyed AEW. I think I enjoyed the fact that AEW was not only a fresher breath air from a creative standpoint, but I feel like I enjoyed AEW because it was like, damn, bro, all we kept hearing about with WWE was bad morale and bad drama and bad bullshit, all this negative stuff with WWE for years and years and years and years and years. And that stuff has zero direct impact on my life. But when you cover wrestling and you see all the negativity, it's annoying. Covering WWE and TNA before Anthem bought TNA. Do you know how annoying it was to make videos talking about TNA? Because every single day you look at this incredible men and women who go out in the ring and they have these great matches, dog. And you're sitting there and you're watching this shit and you just want them to not have to deal with this because it impacts the product. It impacts the business. It impacts so much. And then with AEW, it's like, man, this is cool. Obviously it's inevitable. There's going to be some backstage drama here and there. That's what it is in any workplace, not just wrestling. But I said this years ago, man. I said the fact that people try to justify it and defend these companies, fuck all that noise. You don't defend the companies. Whatever the drama is, it doesn't matter. Not everybody's going to love their workplace, bro. But I feel like one of the biggest reasons why I went and did YouTube full time was because when I worked at my job, I genuinely, I had a lot of authority, right? And I hated knowing that, like, having that type of authority working, working in these types of jobs. Like, yeah, I didn't work in the wrestling business. I wasn't the wrestling promoter. I didn't do that shit. I worked a real corporate job. And I remember when I would be at work and I would just see, like, I have to sit here and try to clean up the morale for other employees to make them happy about decisions I didn't make. And I have to convince them with a smile on my face why they should fucking love their job. That shit was ridiculous, bro. Nobody should ever have to go into the workplace. It's not going to be easy. Obviously, going into work, you're not going to agree with everything. But like when you go into work, the last thing you want to be dealing with is some bullshit. Like that's the last thing you want to be doing. So I was happy, like, cool, man. Like there's a wrestling company where it seems like, they might even unionize. They really care about workers' rights. They care about, not just releasing 300 people at a fucking week on a weekend or whatever. Like it was kind of cool to see this, but there was always something with AEW, and I feel like that's the unfortunate part about them. It looks like I was wrong about them. It doesn't mean they're completely bad, or it's like I was saying about the Andrade thing earlier. WWE, Vince McMahon would have said, Andrade, go get buried in 30 seconds. Tony Khan let him wrestle and look good. At the end of the day, I will always appreciate that about AEW. But just because you do one good thing doesn't mean you can excuse the other bad things. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reality. Companies need to be held accountable. WWE and AEW. Got some more super chats, guys. We're going through them. Sean G dropped a 5-bomb. He says, can you see Mercedes and Deanna signed by AEW to help build that division, or can you see one or both signing with WWE TNA? I'm not going to speak for AEW in terms of new signings because, quite honestly, I don't think they need new signings. I don't think WWE needs new signings. I think Deanna and Mercedes would obviously, ideally, for the health of the wrestling industry, TNA. 100% for the overall health of the industry. In terms of storylines, Mercedes can easily jump into WWE storyline for WrestleMania because of Bayley and Io Sky and Damage Control. There is something there that makes sense for her to physically get involved in. Deonna Purrazzo, technically speaking, can get involved on WWE television, but I don't know if it's the ideal situation for me. There is a storyline. There is something that can happen. Chelsea Green just dropped the women's tag team belts, and I think Triple H is bringing his vision to life. VXT can very much bring them together. For those who know, they know. I don't think they need to go to AEW. I don't think they need to go to WWE. Ideally, TNA would be the spot. But if they're going between WWE and AEW, there's storylines in WWE for them. I can't really think of a storyline where it would make sense for them to be in AEW just yet. That could change, obviously, or maybe it'll come to my mind later. But I don't really see one where it's like, oh, there's history there, and based on that history, that makes sense or whatever. There's nothing I can think of to tie up the loose ends. Appreciate the super chat, boss. Daniel Len dropping one. He says Adam Copeland shouldn't be in AEW. I don't mind Adam Copeland being in AEW. I genuinely don't. I didn't like the booking. I didn't like the kill switch cash in. It's overbooked for shit, bro. Overcooked. But Adam Copeland's great, man. He's at the tail end of his career. He deserves to do whatever he chooses. He deserves, if he wants to be in AEW, there's nothing wrong with that. WWE saw him as a special attraction. Adam Copeland, he wants to wrestle every week. He wants to do cool shit like this. It doesn't matter. It genuinely doesn't matter. I don't have an issue with him being in AEW. I don't think Adam Copeland comes off as a big deal in AEW. Don't get that twisted. He is a big deal in AEW, but without the name Edge, it's just a little bit weird. You know what I mean? Like I've gone 20 years of calling him Edge, not Adam Copeland. So I think that part kind of changes things. I think that's one of the downfalls of leaving WWE and going to AEW or TNA. If you can't use your name that you've used for several years, I think it hurts. I think it definitely hurts your presentation a little bit. But I would go as far as saying Adam Copeland being in AEW or WWE, it doesn't matter. He would not be doing anything better in WWE at this moment. They would just use him for those special attraction feuds for the Big Four or whatever it may be. We've seen that, So I kind of disagree. I don't think it's that big of a deal that he's in AEW, but I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys and act like I love the fucking over convoluted bullshit booking with the TNT Championship, which I'll talk about that in just a little bit. A lot of stuff coming in, guys. I'm trying to keep up with it. Sorry. Dwayne Jackson dropping a 5-bomb. To be honest, the show felt like a random Dynamite. Adam reveal saved the show, in my opinion. I wouldn't even call it a random Dynamite. I would just kind of like what I was saying earlier. There's just like a couple good things, and then there's a lot of bad things, and a couple things that could have just been used on TV. It's just weird. The show is not even like the show itself is just too long, man. Way too long. Way too long. Daniel says WWE will handle CM Punk better. That's a very big possibility. Honestly, low key, I don't know. We'll see with CM Punk. I don't want to say that it's all going to be fine and dandy because I don't know if that's necessarily true. But he seems to be in very good spirits, and it seems like WWE is pretty happy with him. I guess it makes sense. I think the thing with CM Punk is when you look at AEW, and the CM Punk situation, it wasn't always that bad, and it got bad. And I always said I'm not placing judgment on anybody. I'm not placing judgment on CM Punk. I'm not placing judgment on anybody. I always said whoever fought, everybody gets fired. That's it. Call it a day. Move on. Get away from the drama. The company can't afford to have this kind of drama. Get away from it. Unfortunately, Tony Khan, as a business owner, always had to pick sides. Always had to, it was always something. But when you pick sides, it's not advantageous at all whatsoever. And I think that was one of the big things about CM Punk stuff. His booking wasn't even bad in AEW. It's just there was a lot of other issues. There was a lot of company issues, man. Company issues. That's what it was. Company issues, structural issues, fundamental issues, leadership issues that led to CM Punk being gone. And that's sad. It is what it is. He's in WWE now. And at the end of the day, I can't really fault AEW. They needed to move on from it. But unfortunately, those issues didn't go away with CM Punk being gone. That's the reality. Mission Impossible review says compare that to the mess AEW will be once MGF is gone in less than a month. MJF isn't leaving AEW. Another super chat for $1.99. Adam and Christian's feud is going to end in a TLC match. I don't know. Me personally, I wish they just moved on from this. How fucking stupid is it for Killswitch to give up his contract? Give me a second. Is my stream still working, guys? Okay, we're still good. So I'm just trying to understand why. Like, I should have known as soon as Killswitch won the 0-hour battle royal. Like, I should have known that Killswitch, Luchasaurus, whatever. Like, I should have known that they were going to do this type of shit. But let's not forget that this is a company, by the way, that's whole vision was like wins and losses matter. 20 men had a battle royal to win a future chance at the TNT championship. 20 of these guys have a hard time already getting on TV as much as it is. And you have Luchasaurus Killswitch win and then give the contract to Christian in a match. Who is coming up with this? That's what I want to know. Who's coming up with this? 20 men who struggle to get on TV. 20 men, several of them who were at one point presented as a new signing to the company that could be some sort of change for the company or a big signing or a big deal or whatever it may be. 20 men were in this match. Lance Archer lost. All these guys lost. Trent Beretta, by the way, absolutely killed it. And then you waste it on Luchasaurus. You give it to Killswitch, and he gives the contract to Christian Cage. The TNT Championship is cursed. And perhaps the TNT Championship is going to be gone. Maybe Tony Khan at this point already knows that he's losing that TV deal and they're going to retire the TNT TBS Championship. I don't know. But at this point, the TNT Championship, it shocks me how poorly booked that is. But thank you, Tony Khan, for making those 20 people and the winner all look incredibly stupid. Because to me, there is no excuse for that shit. I don't care if Adam and Christian's feud ends in a TLC or anything. Because unfortunately, the TNT Championship means absolutely nothing. Major title change needs to occur to make WWE Special Themes episodes Day 1 special. Drew should beat Seth for the World Heavyweight Championship and Damien cashes in 3-way at Royal Rumble. I don't know if you need major title changes, but I think you need major moments and major surprises. You need to do something. Because credit to AEW when they would do Grand Slam and you have Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson go out there, that is a historical moment. That's a historical moment. That's one moment I will never forget, watching that match and just being like, yeah, this is going to live in history for the business of wrestling, right? So if WWE really wants to make Day 1 and New Year's Revolution and all these shows better and like actually mean something, you can't do it on the level of Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson, but you need to have a big moment, a big surprise, a title change. You do need to do something to make people buy into it. Otherwise, this is just another episode of Raw, and I definitely don't want to see that happen. Thank you, Jana, for the super chat. Thank you, everyone, by the way, for these super chats. We'll keep it moving. We got another one from Daniel. 0 members of Elite were on the pay-per-view. Yeah, the Elite, man, they I don't know. They're kind of like in a weird. They're kind of in a weird thing right now. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the Elite, but I actually sounds crazy. I predict in a few years the Elite will be gone. AEW lost Cody and Brandy. AEW lost these executives. AEW lost CM Punk. It's inevitable at one point the Elite will leave AEW. At one point, it's inevitable. I think in the next 5-6 years, maybe less, honestly. I don't see it working out. I think there's going to be some more issues. Unfortunately, I do. Let's talk a little bit about the reveal. I see you guys talking about the devil stuff. I don't hate on the devil storyline, which probably shocks people, to be honest, but I really don't. I don't hate on the storyline. I just hated the reveal. I hated the way it looked. I think it looked stupid for Wardlow to be in this group. Obviously, we kind of knew this. We kind of positioned. We talked about this stuff in the past, but Wardlow is I don't know why Wardlow, who is somebody who desperately could benefit from a singles run, I don't know. They just don't give a fuck about people, man. Wardlow should not be feuding. Wardlow should not be in a faction to feud with MJF. Like, oh my god, dude. It's so crazy, man. I see Wardlow becoming a champion and having these great feuds and doing all these great things. And then it all goes downhill. And now he's playing second fiddle to fucking Mike Bennett, Matt Taven, Roderick Strong, and Adam Cole. I don't know, man. I don't know. To me, it's quite shocking to see It's quite shocking. It's so funny because the AEW fans will tell them, and they're not even fans, bro. These fucking bots on Twitter, they'll be like, Wardlow's not good on the mic. He's not this. But I don't know. I don't know how to really say anything other than that's not what the crowd was asking for when they saw Wardlow at his height. When Wardlow was getting that massive, beautiful, sexy push, Tony Khan fucking laying it down there like, yo, like we got our own fucking babyface potential here. We have this guy who's going to be a massive star for us. He literally fucking put him on the table and was like, here you go. The crowd was going nuts for Wardlow. How the fuck do you fumble that, bro? I don't know. I think the problem is in AEW, it's just, again, at times they're directionless. That's all. That's how I look at it. Anyways, my friends, we're going to leave it at that. It's New Year's Eve. 2024 is on the way. 2024 is on the way, my friends. We're going to leave it at that. I do want to take 1 second to tell you guys something about 2024. I love, 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 love what I do. I love this wrestling shit so much, man. And I'm super excited about 2024. Like, I genuinely have some like amazing plans I want to do. These live streams are fun. And I have a new project that I cannot wait to show you guys, and it's coming. It's been worked on for months. I cannot wait to talk about it and show you guys. But I just want to let you guys all know ahead of time. Thank you for making 2023. 2023 has been absolutely incredible. And 2024 is going to be even more incredible. So with that said, my friends, I hope you all have a happy, healthy, successful, fun, beautiful new year. May 2024 bring you all great blessings, health, happiness, everything you can imagine. We'll be back tomorrow, baby. 2024. More live streams, anybody? All right. I'm done joking around now. I'll see y'all. Thank y'all for stopping by. Appreciate it. Take care.